What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Miss Sophia the Diva. I'm back here again for another review. Today we will be reviewing Secrets and Lies. So this probably will not be uploaded until after tonight's episode. I have been so terrible with this show. And the season finale is tonight. We've got 2 hours. This episode we will be discussing is season 2, episode 8, The Racket. And my, what a terrible web of racketeering that dear sweet brother Patrick has woven for the Warner family, the Sherwood Equities Group, SEG as they're known. Basically what we now know is from this entire show is that it all started with a drop. We found Kate Warner, who is the subject matter of this entire season. Who killed Kate? We don't know who killed Kate. We're not sure who is liable for Kate's death at this point. All we know is that there is a host of smoking mirrors. Somebody's keeping secrets and someone's telling lies. My money now is on Pop Warner. I'm trying to figure out what his angle is throughout this entire... He's never around. He circumvents questions. It's almost like he's setting Eric up for something we suspect that we know Eric and his sister at the very least may have done. And I can't quite put my hands on it. So we know now, after all these episodes, that Kate was actually investigating Patrick. We know that Neil and Amanda engaged in a day or an office rumble tumble. They engaged in some form of congress, consenting adult style. We know that Neil decided he is in love with Amanda, but anybody else he's willing to pay for it. Might as well pay up front because he's had 3 divorces. We learned that Patrick and Melanie decided to use firm money to, actually Patrick on his own decided to do this real estate deal that his dad told him was a bad idea. He goes on to execute it, finds out that this guy... with the sure thing turned out to be a fake and a fraud, and that the Professional Golfing Association was never going to certify the golf course around the properties that he invested in because he just really thought he was going to make a killing. Let's be real, Patrick. Real estate, as we have learned in the past few years, is not the way to go, my dear. Amanda and her husband are no longer together because she was so hell-bent on having a biological child. Or even, I think they probably could have even gotten a surrogate, maybe. I don't know if that was an option, but her and her husband are no longer together. We know that Mama Warner was a drunk. We suspect Daddy Warner might have cancer, and that's why he been out of town. But I think he been keeping more secrets and lies than anyone. So in this episode, basically we open up with the cops hot on the heels of, they're closing in on Patrick and Melanie, basically. Part of it is because they now know that there was a prostitution ring going on. So in this episode, a lot happened. Basically, the cops now know that Patrick Warner and his wife have been running a brothel under SEG's name. The good thing is that Patrick was stupid enough to put himself on the utilities, so this may save his brother, his father, and their dear friend Neil a lot of grief and keep them out of jail. Eric makes a decision that I'm sure any relative would struggle with, like, what do you do when your little brother has committed fraud and possibly murdered your wife, even though there's no solidified evidence about that? I mean, what do you do with that and where do you go? So Patrick is sacrificed. Okay. He did all of this damage. He tried to cover his tracks. He's the one that broke into Kate's desk to retrieve the statement that would prove that he had been the one to set up an account at another bank in order to funnel funds to help take care of this real estate sure thing that he had going on. So essentially what happens in this episode, I'm not going to go too deep and be too analytical. Essentially what happened, the attorney was on his shit. He basically told them, look here, all y'all in trouble. Eric, your ass should not have never gone to Tri-State to do your investigation. You should have came to me first. That's what they paid me the big bucks for. Because now they can spin it this way and say, Oh, a managing partner went to the bank either to cover it up or was complicit in it. Not to mention you got a managing partner who was also buying cookies down to the candy store. Okay, Neil. So Neil was like, I met her on the website. How was I supposed to know that Melanie was her boss? I didn't know that Melanie was her boss until that night at the party. So that's when the attorney was like, okay, great. Because Neil was like, well, everything we did was consensual. And he was like, how do you know it was consensual? How do you know she wasn't coerced, abused, or threatened into doing it? And Melanie looked like she didn't play, because that night that they did the flashback, Melanie was like, you gotta leave. And old girl looked shook because she was like, that's my boss. He was like, how was I supposed to know she was mad at Melanie? And then Eric was pissed at Neil because he hadn't told him, that his sister-in-law was a damn madam. But I'm like Neil too. Like, how the hell do you tell your best friend, by the way, your sister-in-law down here selling cat out of these luxury homes in Mint Hill? What was I supposed to say? So basically, the attorney told them to take preemptive action and be as transparent as they could, because all types of agencies, not just the police, but it could be the SEC, the OCC, the IRS, anything, because you got tax evasion, you've got prostitution, you possibly got violations of the Commerce Clause, because you got interstate prostitution. I mean, we just don't know. And then with the whole prostitution thing, the vice cop had to school Detective Cornell and let her know that you really think that it's a victimless crime. It's really not. Our last bus, we found two 16-year-olds that were pregnant chained down in a damn basement. So no, prostitution is not necessarily a victimless crime. People get hurt. People get coerced. And a long time ago, I was helping with the setup of this nonprofit, where we were going to be helping get young women off the streets of Compton. But it's really sad. They have what they call strawberries. Strawberries are girls that are under the age of consent who get turned out and tricked out and are young prostitutes. And Johns probably don't care, or they don't know. The police told Melanie, talking about, you didn't ask the age because you didn't care. Not only that, we learned about Melanie's past, which I kind of figured, I said she had to know something about the hookah game for her to be as good as she was at it. Eric decides to turn Patrick in. He goes to the police station, gives them this box, letting them know I have a rogue employee who went outside the guidelines and policies and procedures of SEG, and it's fraud. Cornell looks at it and says, this also could implicate who killed your wife. He goes, I know. That's why I'm turning it in. Come to find out, it's Patrick. Patrick, meanwhile, gets fired by his brother. He's like, does Dad know about this? And Eric doesn't say. He says, you're fired. And it's just really sad. You get a perp walk at your own job in a way, because, they got the security there to escort him out. He's pissed. He goes run crying into his comatose, dear mama. Dear mama, I'm so sorry, Mama. I messed up. I was trying to get Daddy's approval. Mr. Warner, you are under arrest. I was like, damn. Cornell has no chill, so they arrest him. Meanwhile, he's in jail. This high-powered attorney is coming. The lady named Felicia from Vice, by Felicia, as I'm going to call her, Detective by Felicia, because she was real difficult. And the only reason they pulled Vice in is because, come to find out, when they went through the house in Mint Hill, there was all these security cameras, but there was one outside. And come to find out, it was a sleeper camera, and it was just basically used to collect information. But Felicia informs her that it's a warrantless observation, and so they need to find probable cause, because otherwise, as many of us know who've been to law school, it's fruit of the poisonous tree otherwise. Because you can't violate the Fourth Amendment's privacy acts. The rules of privacy. So, needless to say, Cornell gets some information from the vice cop that shows Melanie out with this high-powered attorney, and that's when she gets inside of Patrick's head, which Patrick had already invoked, by the way. So technically, Cornell should not have been talking to him and continuing to talk to him But she pushed a button. Basically, she implies that Melanie probably had been sleeping with the attorney, and that's how they're able to afford it, because they broke ass, quite frankly. Or as some people like to say, they were broke as fuck. So the attorney gets there, comes in, and Patrick wails on him. Go figure. Which also shows he might potentially have an anger management problem. So next thing you know, Melanie's in Downward Dog, and she gets picked up by the cops in her yoga class. How embarrassing. They take her in. They let her know, honey, you ain't got no secrets, and you can't lie to us, because we done got the little pin, the little data file out of your necklace. How did you know it was there? Patrick turned on you. Because, see, Patrick mad at you because he think you've been turning tricks with this attorney and doing favors so that you can always have an attorney on retainer, because he know y'all broke. So she just can't believe that her husband turned on her. In the meanwhile, because I'm going to come back to Melanie. In the meanwhile, Amanda and Pop are upset with Eric for turning their little brother in. He's like, you turned over this company to me. And his dad is like, but yeah, I still run this family. Amanda's like, how could you do that? What did you think this would do to this family? And he's like, well, you always telling me to listen to counsel. And then on top of that, Dad is like, I don't think, he talking about, what were you thinking? He was like, I was thinking about doing the right thing, and I was following instructions as a attorney, but I don't think you thinking at all right now, Dad. I was like, yeah, dog. I mean, he is cutting left and right on his family. Well, what he said was, Eric, you're not thinking straight. And he was like, I don't think you thinking at all. He was cutting on everybody. He told her, man, the bottom line is this. I made a decision. A decision had to be made. And I made that decision. He looked at her. And that's when I said, I think that's when I know them two were complicit in knocking their mother down the steps. Okay, you can't tell me they didn't do that. The father and him are left alone. And that's when they start talking about this juvenile record, which is awfully suspicious. Throughout this entire season, Cornell has been asking, where's Eric's juvenile records? The dad allegedly has the only copy. We still have not seen these juvenile records. So his father goes in on him about how you don't know what it's like to be a parent. You never had kids. Eric fires back with the fact that he was the one that raised Patrick and took care of him, made his lunch while you were out busy making money. And then he says, you need to go see your brother. I guess at some point during the conversation, Eric goes to see his brother. Patrick is mad and hurt and sad and in his feelings and does not want to take ownership. He's like, yeah, I'm here because of you, brother. And Eric's like, no. Yes, I turned you in, but you're here because of your own actions. Of course, Patrick has to be slick at the mouth. Also, just to go back real quick, Pop Warner. Now, he claimed he don't have cancer, but he got something going on with him, because Eric also explains to him that he suspects that Patrick may have been the one to murder his wife, because at the time that his wife was murdered, that's when these mysterious blackmailing letters started showing up. He shows his father this blackmail letter, and this is Pop Warner. Oh, and you're just like, Pop, why you acting like that? What's wrong with you? Why you act like that, John? What did you do? So, meanwhile, while Patrick crying for his mama in a jail cell, Melanie ass is pissed because she done been flipped on. Melanie was like, I tell you what, if there's a deal in front, I tell you this much. I didn't kill Kate, but I know who did. Now, Danny and Eric have met up because Eric still is having trouble trying to get this new second iPad open. Child, Danny got it open. Come to find out, the password was Eric, his name. There's a tracking device on it. Danny has this. He finds out that the money is moving because he told him, let's follow the money. They go follow the money. All right. Child, it's Pop Warner pulling up. Now, one of two things could be going on. Either Patrick gave his daddy something, or, maybe Daddy is complicit in this whole, maybe they playing a game with Eric. Maybe he knows that Eric is the one that kicked his wife down the stairs, and he thought maybe payback would be tossing his wife off the daggone balcony at the office. I mean, it's just one crazy. It's crazy. I think I covered everything. So who do you think killed Kate? We don't think Melanie killed her. We just think Melanie just was about trying to get money and save her husband. But her husband knows she a hoe. Because he had no idea. I was like, how else do you think she knew what she was doing, how to set up a whole business? Come on now. Either way, that's all I got. I will see you guys tonight. Or you can see this probably after tonight because I've got to run downstairs and watch Real Housewives of Atlanta. Have a good night.